Hi, welcome back with another movie explanation. Today, I'm going to explain an action adventure drama film called Aeronauts. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film starts in London, 1860, with a girl whose name is Amelia. She's a balloon pilot. She's seen traveling in a horse cart. During the journey, she sits idle, but suddenly she remembers the horrifying things that happened in the past in her life. She doesn't feel well, so she tells the driver of the car to stop. Then she and her sister Antonia get down. Antonia suggests her to stop the journey, but she doesn't listen to her. After this, we look at James Glaisher, who is a scientist. James is getting ready to take the world's biggest hot air balloon up into the sky and break the previous record of a man going up into the sky by 36,000 feet. A lot of people are there to see the balloon go up into the sky. A show is arranged for the spectators to watch and be amazed and inspired at the same time. James and his friend John, who actually helped him, built the hot air balloon and talked to each other. While talking, John says that the weather is not suitable for the flight. It will be impossible to go up to 36,000 feet in the sky. James says it won't be a problem, and it'll happen. As they were speaking, the man named Ned Chambers, who sponsored James for this experiment, comes to James and asks what happened. John tells him that the weather is not suitable for flight. Ned replies that if they don't fly the balloon, today's spirits of the people will be broken, along with the loss of his money. James assures him that he will make the balloon fly no matter what. Just as James finishes talking, the crowd around them starts cheering and chanting for a woman who's entering the place in a horse cart swiftly. She is none other than Amelia. Amelia is an entertainer and a balloon pilot. She's the person James teamed up with to achieve the goal of flying above 36,000 feet. Amelia comes near the balloon and tells James that she is taking her dog with her for the ride in the balloon. James disagrees with her, but she ignores James and takes the dog with her anyway. Amelia gets into the hot air balloon with James and starts doing stunts on the railing or edge of the hot air balloon in which they sat. The people were all shocked and awed after reaching a certain height. Amelia tells James to give her dog to her, but he tells her it's dangerous to hold on to a dog while standing on the edge on the hot air balloon. However, even after all the warning, she still insists and tells James to give her the dog. James hands Amelia the dog, and Amelia drops the dog from that height. The audience were all shocked to see a brutal thing like that. But before the dog reaches the ground, a parachute on its back opens up, and the dog lands slowly on the ground. Seeing this, all the people in the audience start to cheer again. Now it's been 3 minutes and 14 seconds since they started their journey upwards, and they have now reached a height of 1,140 feet. For the first time in his life, James feels like a free bird looking down on the city from that height. Amelia talks to James and tells her that the people on the ground are the ones who funded his experiment, and it has to be done for them. James doesn't listen to Amelia. James looks at his science institution on the ground with a telescope he brought with him and thinks to himself that the science institution was the place where he and John looked at the hot air balloon of another aeronaut going into the blue skies by clearing the clouds it touched. The name of the aeronaut was Charles Green. After a few days, James goes to the Science Academy and tells the members of the academy about his hypothesis that in the coming days they can predict the weather, and with his technique they can help humanity. Members of the Science Academy don't believe James and they even laugh at him. In the next scene, we see James back in the hot air balloon. He has now reached a height of 5,450 feet, and the time taken for him to reach that height is 9 minutes and 28 seconds. The temperature up there was 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Now James sends a message down to the ground with the help of pigeons he brought. The message contains the information about the weather conditions up there. After this, their hot air balloon starts to penetrate the clouds and reach even higher. Right after they pass the clouds, they see the thunder in the clouds and the rain start pouring down on them. They experience strong wind currents, and their hot air balloon starts to lose control and spiral around in the sky. Because of this unforeseen event, James gets injured and loses consciousness, and Amelia was hanging outside the hot air balloon, hanging onto a rope. Then, James regains his consciousness and tries to save Amelia by dragging her back into the basket. After getting back into the basket, Amelia throws out sandbags that they have in the basket to keep them controlled at a certain height. Once the balloon becomes more lighter, they start to go even higher and surpass the clouds. They see a bright sun up there and all the clouds are under them. Looking at the shadow of their hot air balloon on the clouds, James becomes happy and starts shouting out of happiness. Amelia joins him as well. Amelia thinks about her past and how she met James. In the past, Amelia lost her husband and could not live her life in peace. Looking at her sister's situation, Antonia takes Amelia to a party and here she meets James. James tells her about his dream and how he wants to fly in the sky above 36,000 feet. He even asks Amelia to help him with his feet, but Amelia rejects the offer and tells him she won't do it. After this, James goes to Charles Green to ask his help, but he tells him it's impossible to reach the height of 36,000 feet. He warns James that he will die if he tries to do something as stupid as that. In the next scene, Amelia comes to see the show James put on, and she's impressed by this. After this, Amelia agrees to do what James had dreamed and tells him, "I will help you." Amelia helps James from the next day. She helps him make the hot air balloon as big as possible to reach 36,000 feet in the air. In the present, James and Amelia are seen in the hot air balloon. They see a group of golden colored butterflies and feel happy to see such a beautiful scenery. After this, it's shown that Amelia and James have reached the height of 23,000 feet, which was Charles Green's world record height. James sends Charles Green a message with a pigeon that he broke the world record by reaching 23,000 feet in the sky. James is satisfied by the trip they made, but he wants to reach more height. He wants to go up to 36,000 feet. After this, Amelia tells James to lower the balloon and land on the ground, but he doesn't listen to Amelia and makes the balloon even lighter to reach more height. Amelia saw the winds up there and she was scared, but James tells her that everything will be alright, I will take care of it, and she agrees to what James says. Now we can see that reading in the parameter shows that they have reached 26,000 feet. At this height, a normal human cannot breathe because of the deficiency of oxygen in the air. It becomes hard for both James and Amelia to breathe. On the other side, the hot air balloon is freezing due to the cold temperatures at that height. James and Amelia were getting frostbites on their skin, but James doesn't care about anything at this point. He tries to make the hot air balloon even more light to reach more height. Amelia tries to stop him, but he pushes her away and throws the weights out of the basket. After a while, due to the extreme weather conditions, James gets hypoxia and can't move. Amelia and James decide to go down, but they can't due to the damages that took place on top of the balloon. Due to the freezing temperature, Amelia climbs up on top of the balloon to repair the top and go down. She doesn't care about her own life, she just wants to save James at this point. Once she gets on top of the balloon, she hits the top of the balloon with her shoes and breaks the frozen parts. But after a minute, she goes unconscious due to the temperature and height. She falls asleep on the top of the air balloon. The air balloon reaches 36,020 feet. The balloon starts to slowly come down. It loses its height gradually, but due to this, Amelia, who was unconscious on top of the balloon, falls down from the top. She tied herself with a rope before she went up, so she was safe and didn't fall down to the ground and die. She comes back into the basket and sees James unconscious, but he regains his consciousness in a while because they start to lose height and were going down. Amelia was happy to see James was alive. It has been 73 minutes since they started the journey. They reach back to the height of 3,000 feet, but due to the top being damaged completely, they start to free fall in the hot air balloon. To save their lives, they cut down the baskets, but the balloon still doesn't slow down. James cuts one of the ropes tied to the balloon, and the balloon turns into a large parachute. James and Amelia hold onto it and land slowly onto the ground. In the climax, we can see that the members of the Science Academy appreciate what James has done and gives him a round of applause. The film ends. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. Stay safe and never forget, you are awesome.